Hi everyone. In today's lecture we will discuss about Introduction to OOPS. So OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming System. Okay. Basically we have object oriented programming concepts that are used to develop the application with the help of objects and classes. What do you mean by objects and what do you mean by classes? We will cover these things one by one. This lecture only belongs to the overview of the OOPS. Fine. So, in order to develop any real world project or application, we must use either procedure oriented principles or object oriented principles. So basically, languages are classified into two types. First one is what? Procedural oriented programming language, and the second one is what? Object oriented programming language. For example, we have Pascal, we have COBOL, we have Perl, we have C. These all are the examples of procedural oriented programming language. Fine. And we know Java, .NET is there, C++ is there, Smalltalk, Ruby, etc. are the examples of object oriented programming language. Clear with this point? Now, let's see some important point regarding object-oriented programming. So the first point is, in POP means what? Procedural oriented programming or procedure oriented programming. So in POP, large program is divided into small units called function. But in object oriented programming, entire program is divided into objects. Okay, this is the first point. The second point is what? You know, it mainly focus on data security. Object-oriented programming language applications enhance the security. But in POPL, there is no way of hiding the data, so data is insecure. Okay, in procedural programming language. Fine. Let's go for the third point. The third point is code reusability is more in object-oriented programming language due to inheritance. So inheritance is basically a feature of the object-oriented language. Fine. It is one of the pillar of the object-oriented language. But in POPL, we don't have the provision of inheritance. Remember this point. Okay. Now the fourth point is in OOPL based application. OOPL means what? Object oriented programming language based applications. The data is around objects. But in POPL based application, the data is around functions. Okay. The next point. Abstraction is more in object oriented programming language. Means data abstraction increase reliability, right? So reliability is more in the case of object-oriented programming language. The sixth point is object-oriented programming languages provides more modularity than POPL languages. Okay. The next, procedural-oriented programming don't have access specifiers, but in OOP we have specific access specifiers like private, public, protected, etc. Okay. Now the next point is, OOP supports function overloading. Even it supports, constructor overloading also. So we will see these points later on. Don't worry for now. Just remember this small points. You know. Now the next point is, this OOP useful to solve large real world problems, and POPL is used to solve the small problems. So this is about some important point regarding object oriented programming. I hope this thing is clear to you. Now let's move to the next. So basically, object oriented programming is a methodology which defines set of rules and regulation for organization of data and instruction. We will see this part, in detail with respect to time. Fine. Now let's see something. We have the building blocks of OOPS. What are that things? Class and object. So basically class is what? A blueprint of an object, and object is what? Instance of a class. Okay. Now we have four pillars of OOP. What are that? First one is encapsulation. Encapsulations means protecting our data. Second one is abstraction. Abstraction means what? Hiding our irrelevant data. Third one is what? Inheritance. Inheritance means one property of object is acquiring to another property of object. And the fourth one is what? Polymorphism. Means what? Different behaviors of at different instances is called polymorphism. Clear with this point? We will see each and everything in detail. Don't worry. Now let's see the next. So basically, programming language is said to be object oriented if it satisfies the below principle. That is what? Classes, objects, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding, and message passing. So from today onwards, we are going to see each and everything in detail. And this section is going to be the most important section with respect to your interview, with respect to your career. You should be very good in object oriented features, object oriented programming. So please don't miss any of the video. Okay, I'm going to teach you in depth each and every concept. So thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe our YouTube channel to get the further updates.